Every legend begins, not with glory, but with obscurity. Before the packed stadiums, the flashing lights, and the roaring chants of millions, Cristiano Ronaldo was a boy on a small island in the Atlantic Ocean, Madeira, Portugal. His family struggled with poverty. His father was a kitman at a local football club. His mother worked as a cook and cleaner. The young Cristiano grew up in a household where dreams were a luxury. And yet, this child would one day become the embodiment of what the human will can achieve. But how does one rise from obscurity to near myth? Does a fragile boy, often mocked for his accent and slight frame, grow into one of the most dominant athletes in history? This is not just a sports story. This is a story of philosophy in action, of how discipline, belief, and relentless striving transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Philosophers have long wrestled with the question, what makes a good life? Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, believed the unexamined life is not worth living. To live fully, one must constantly question, challenge, and refine oneself. Ronaldo's journey can be seen as the living embodiment of this Socratic principle. He examined his weaknesses early on, confronted them brutally, and refused to let them define him. In Madeira, young Ronaldo often played football barefoot on the streets, improvising with makeshift balls. At just 12 years old, he left his family behind to join Sporting Lisbon's academy, a leap into the unknown. Away from home, into a world where only the strongest survived. This willingness to sacrifice comfort for growth reflects Aristotle's belief. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Ronaldo chose the habit of excellence early, and he never stopped repeating it. Yet his journey was not without pain. He cried when bullied for his accent. He fainted during training sessions because of his heart condition, which required surgery at age 15. Many would have quit, but Ronaldo returned stronger, faster, hungrier. Here lies a crucial lesson. Greatness is not born from talent alone. It is forged in resilience. Psychologists today talk about the science of grit, the combination of passion and perseverance. Studies by Angela Duckworth show that grit often predicts success better than IQ or raw talent. Ronaldo's life confirms this. He was not the most naturally gifted child compared to others in his academy. What set him apart was his insatiable drive. He trained longer, pushed harder, and demanded more from himself than anyone else. By the time Manchester United signed him at 18, the world had started to take notice. But still, no one could have predicted the scale of what was to come. This small boy from Madeira was about to show us what happens when willpower collides with opportunity. And here's the first question for you, the viewer. What weaknesses in your life could be transformed if you treated them not as limitations, but as challenges waiting to be conquered? Because, as Ronaldo shows us, the spark of greatness often lies hidden in our deepest struggles. Cristiano Ronaldo's career is not just about football. It is about the philosophy of becoming. At Manchester United, Ronaldo entered under the guidance of Sir Alex Ferguson. He was skinny, flashy, full of tricks, often accused of yet Ferguson saw not just the boy, but the potential man. With mentorship, discipline, and relentless training, Ronaldo transformed himself from a raw talent into a complete athlete. Here, we see Nietzsche's concept of the Bermensch, the overman, the one who transcends himself by creating his own values and form. Nietzsche never meant a superhuman in the comic book sense. He meant a human being who refuses to be limited by tradition or weakness, who sculpts himself into something greater through sheer will. Ronaldo, through his obsession with training, diet, and perfection, mirrors this idea. He turned every criticism into fuel, every failure into a lesson. By the late 2000s, he was not just a star, he was a force. Champions League victories, Premier League titles, Ballon d'Or trophies. Yet, what is most striking is not the records themselves, but the method. Teammates describe him as the first to arrive at training and the last to leave. His body became a laboratory of discipline. Rigorous diet, precision workouts, obsessive recovery routines. He transformed himself into an athletic machine. Science supports this. Studies on deliberate practice, pioneered by Anders Ericsson, show that mastery requires not just 10,000 hours of practice, but deliberate practice, focused, intentional, feedback-driven effort. Ronaldo embodies this principle. His free-kick technique, his aerial ability, his ambidextrous finishing, none of this was merely natural. It was engineered, piece by piece, through deliberate, painful repetition. But there is a paradox. Philosophy warns us. The more we control life, the more we risk being controlled by our own pursuit. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy practiced by Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, teaches us to control what we can and accept what we cannot. Ronaldo's life reflects both the brilliance and the burden of this control. He has mastered his body, his craft, his environment, yet at times he seems enslaved by the very pursuit of perfection. At Real Madrid, his legacy reached its zenith. Multiple Champions League triumphs, record-breaking goal tallies, moments that etched themselves into the collective memory of fans worldwide. But behind each night of glory lay countless unseen sacrifices. Skipped parties, brutal diets, lonely nights of training. He paid the price willingly. Fear. Psychology offers insight. Self-determination theory suggests that humans thrive when pursuing goals aligned with intrinsic motivation, growth, mastery, purpose. Ronaldo's drive often seemed intrinsic, yet it was also tied to external validation, trophies, records, proving doubters wrong. The question arises: did Ronaldo chase greatness for its own sake, or was he always running from the fear of being ordinary? This tension makes his story deeply human, because don't we all wrestle with this? We strive for success, recognition, security, but beneath it all often lies fear of failure, of insignificance, of mortality. Camus, the existentialist philosopher, spoke of the absurd hero, the one who finds meaning, not in external guarantees, but in the act of striving itself. In this sense, Ronaldo becomes the absurd hero of football, even knowing that age, decline, and eventual obscurity await. He pushes forward, because striving itself is his meaning. By his mid-30s, Ronaldo had conquered England, Spain, and Italy. He had become the all-time top scorer for Portugal, leading his country to a European Championship and Nations League triumph. His name became synonymous with relentlessness, and yet decline began to creep in. At Juventus, then Manchester United again, and later Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, the criticism grew louder. He's too old. He's slowing down. He can't dominate like before. For the first time, the myth of invincibility cracked. But here lies the deeper philosophical lesson. Greatness is not measured by avoiding decline. It is measured by how one confronts it. Aging athletes face an existential truth we all share. The body weakens, time wins. The question is, how do we meet this truth? With bitterness and denial, or with adaptation and dignity? Science shows us that while physical peak declines, mental resilience and wisdom can grow. Ronaldo, even in later years, adapts, focusing on positioning, leadership, and efficiency, rather than pure speed. He continues scoring, continues leading, continues striving. And for us, the viewers, this reflects our own lives. Careers, peak bodies, age, opportunities shift, but meaning does not vanish. It transforms. Ronaldo's story teaches us that reinvention is not just for the young. It is a lifelong project. Cristiano Ronaldo today is more than an athlete. He is a symbol of excellence, obsession, resilience, and the paradox of human striving. But what is his true legacy? Is it the trophies, the goals, the records? Those will one day be broken, forgotten, replaced. No, his deeper legacy lies in the proof that the human will, when harnessed with discipline, can reshape reality itself. He showed that limits are negotiable, that weakness can become strength, that obscurity can become immortality. That legacy is double-edged. Ronaldo is adored and idolized, but also criticized and mocked. Fame magnifies both love and hate. Here, we see Kierkegaard's idea of the leap of faith. To live authentically, one must take the leap, embrace one's path, even if it defies reason. even if it invites ridicule. Ronaldo's leap was his relentless pursuit of excellence, no matter the cost. Heidegger, the philosopher of being, reminds us that all human projects are shaped by death. We are beings toward death, defined not by endless achievement, but by the awareness that our time is finite. Ronaldo's story reminds us of this truth. No matter how many goals we score, how many mountains we climb, time will still call us home. The question is not how long we avoid decline, but how deeply we live while we can. For Ronaldo, perhaps the ultimate lesson is that greatness lies not in perfection, but in persistence. Not in avoiding the end, but in meeting it head-on, still striving, still hungry. And here are the key takeaways for you, the viewer. Examine your weaknesses honestly. Like Ronaldo, face them and see them as challenges, not definitions. Build habits of excellence. Aristotle was right. Greatness is a habit, formed in daily choices, not a one-time act. Practice grit, passion, and perseverance often matter more than talent. Cultivate both. Embrace reinvention. As life changes, adapt. Do not cling to past peaks. Create new forms of success. Find meaning in striving itself like Camus' absurd hero. Realize that life's value is not in guarantees, but in the pursuit. So I leave you with this final question. If Ronaldo's story shows us that the limits of the human body and mind are negotiable, then what limits in your life are waiting to be redefined? Because, in the end, Cristiano Ronaldo is not just the story of a footballer. He is the mirror of our own struggle to rise, to fall, to rise again, to live, fully, relentlessly, until the final whistle.